If you're running a school, the common conception is get as many members as you possibly can, hit that wide TAM, make as much money, make as much impact as you can. But that model doesn't work anymore. That is how you sell a membership-based offer, and membership-based offers look chaotic. It looks like homework. It looks like investments. And we're going to show you the new way to structure it so you don't get more members, you get better members who don't lurk and leave. They pay, they stay, they tell their friends, they get results that give you marketable proof to grow your school, and sometimes they get a tattoo. Okay, so here's the main thing that we've found. We spent 7 years studying cult psychology, cult brands, human psychology, how the human brain works, right? Well-working membership sites, communities, digital marketing. And it's when you're selling courses and content and you are trying to sell these courses and content. You have something great. Obviously, you have something great. You want to get it out to the world. You want to help people. You genuinely want to help people. But how it shows up to the brain is homework. It sounds like a lot of work. It sounds like a lot of money maybe that they don't have. Like there's all these things stopping the brain. Like the brain has these defense mechanisms that kick up and then stop from understanding. We get 40 million bits of information in the brain per second. And we can only manage like 40 of them, right? And so if you're just trying to sell content, if you're trying to sell courses, then it just sounds like work. It sounds hard, right? It's a big sell these days where it used to work, but now it's like, well, I can just chat GPT something. And so really have to look at how the brain is wired, which it's wired for tribal psychology, right? We are wired for tribal belonging, to belong to tribes of like-minded people. It was safety in numbers, right? Similarity was safety, difference was danger. And so when you're selling tribal belonging, then it's really easy because you bypass that. You go straight to the skeptical subconscious and it doesn't even have time to filter out because you're like, whoa, is this for me? Right? And so they don't even know why, but they want to buy. And so we've got a 3-part framework to create that tribal belonging so that people actually feel like they belong. They want to pay, they want to stay, they want to be a part of this. And so you don't have to focus on getting more members, you focus on getting more per member. And so the cult creator method is all about belonging. If we can create a sense of belonging, then it gives them meaning. If it gives them meaning and belonging, then they feel like they are one of us, right? Then they post because they feel like this is their homies. Then they engage, right? They don't just lurk and leave. Like they actually feel like there's something here for them because they feel recognized, they feel seen, they feel significance. And so if we can create that, then we see low churn, we see high engagement, high retention, and sometimes a fucking tattoo. It's crazy. And so it really comes down to having one member and one mission and one method. And so the old model was to create a membership-based offer. And that's where you're like, you're going to get 47 modules and there's 110 hours of content. And you're going to get all these frameworks and PDFs. And to the brain, you're like, whoa, that just sounds like a lot of work. Maybe I do want that thing, but there's got to be an easier way, or maybe there's a different time, or maybe it's just hard. But a mission-based offer, if you're getting them in with a tribal identity and you're putting them on a mission, that's an experience that they get to do with like-minded people. That is how we are wired. It's very hard to say no to. And so if you're missing one of those 3 things, right? One core method under one core mission for one core identity, one core member. If you're missing one of those, then when they read your offer, then this is what's happening in the brain. First, the amygdala goes. It's like the front part. It's like the safety, it's the defense. And that is what triggers anxiety. So now you have fear and anxiety and all these like question marks on your offer. Then the default mode network gets activated. And that's like the open loop center where they're just asking all of these questions and all of these what ifs. Not good for making decisions. They say the confused mind never buys. But if you have all 3, then these 2 things happen, right? Instead of default mode network and anxiety, you get dopamine. Dopamine is the number one thing. As cult creators, we're always trying to trigger dopamine because it's the brain's reward center. It's the cookie for doing something good, for finding something, right? It's how we've evolved, and it's still how the brain is evolving. And so it's like, hey, you found something good, let's keep going. And then the second one is oxytocin. Oxytocin is the cuddle hormone. It's what connects and bonds strangers together. And so it's what's triggered when you're cuddling or when you're having sex. And so you could get like the brain gets cookies and cuddles when you have all three of these things. And so then people actually pay, they stay, they engage, they feel like they belong, right? It's that tribal wiring that we have in our brain. And Eric Fromm, he's a social psychologist from 60s, 70s, like a while ago, figured this shit out early. And he says that man needs a map of his natural and social world, without which he would be confused and unable to act purposefully and consistently. And so this is in every part of their world, right? Every new world, the brain needs this frame of orientation. We often say, like, you go to a restaurant, you don't know where the bathroom is. It's because it's a new world and there's confusion. And so it's like you just don't know where to go. There's a little bit of anxiety. And so the brain is always looking for a frame of orientation. As cult creators, we are always looking to create that frame of orientation before they join the community. Right? This member on this mission with this method. As soon as they join the community, reorient them on this frame of orientation. This is who we are. This is where we're going. This is how we get there. Throughout the whole course, throughout the whole experience, we're always reorienting, saying, here's how to win. Here's where you're at. Here's who we are. Here's what we're doing. Here's how you get there. And so man needs a map of his natural and social world. And these three things give them that. And so we have to be very specific on the identity that we're calling in, right? Not just athletes, but maybe runners. Maybe not just runners, but distance runners or trail runners, right? And what do we want? What is the mission that we're doing here? Is it a sub 20 5K? Is it a 50K ultra marathon? Is it, right? What is the mission that we are going on? What makes us similar people on a similar mission? And then what is that method to get there? It has to be unique and different than anything they've already seen. Right? That's why keto versus paleo. It's a simple contrast. They can see what is the outcome and what is the method and what makes that method unique, right? Anybody that's tried like a Jenny Craig, they're like, well, I've tried that, you know? And so it's like, you have to be very specific in your method and it has to be a unique mechanism behind why it works, right? Like 2 fitness memberships that we've helped crush. One, both men over 40, both like this, there's only so many ways to lift a dumbbell. But the one was to increase testosterone naturally. The other one, the mission was for cardiovascular health, right? So one person had a story and they have a history of health conditions, heart conditions, cholesterol, right? And you realize like this guy's in Australia, 50% of men over 40 have these problems. And so that's a perfect narrative that, you know, his whole life he had these things. It's in his lineage, it's in his environment, it's in his country. And so he found an answer to that problem, and that's his method, right? Whereas the other one, it was all about testosterone bottoming out. You hit 30, now you hit 40, right? Sarcopenia is trying to like take down. Estrogenization of society is trying to take you down your testosterone. And so very similar methods, but very different names, very different mechanisms, very different promised lands, right? What is yours? Who are you targeting? Where are we going? What the fuck we doing here? And then how do we get there? What is that method? What is that reason why it works, that mechanism? And so when you can have those three things, then you have a frame of orientation, and then it's just consistently getting people reoriented on that frame as often as you possibly can so that they have an understanding and they can act purposefully and they can act consistently, because without action, you don't get paid, you don't get results, you don't get marketable proof that feeds the engine. And how do you get any kind of freedom in MRR that way? So Eric Fromm, he's a G. He figured it out early. We have just applied it to memberships, to communities. And so create that frame of orientation and that power frame that gets you paid. Let's get it.